What is happening, budget builders, and welcome back to the channel. Who doesn't need a dump truck? Yeah, we bought a 1976 Dodge D600 that has been off the road since 2000. We're gonna try to get this thing to run. So clearly we are small block powered. I'd imagine maybe a 318 or something. It has a relatively clean interior-ish, I guess. 4-speed, looks like a 2-speed rear axle. And it's stubby. This is a stubby little dump truck and it's awesome. What in the world are we doing? I don't even know if we can move this thing. Oh boy. Believe it or not, that trailer made it all 140 miles back home with this behemoth on top of it without an issue. But now it's time to get up under the hood here. Now it's time to consider getting up under the hood here. And let's see if we can get that 318 running. Now, the only thing you'll notice that I'm not super excited about is there's no air cleaner. There's one here. That's not even for this. The heck? Okay, so sure, it has one, but it's not even for this thing, and you can tell it has not had one atop it in a long time. So hopefully this motor isn't frozen. So I think our next step, let's go ahead and get all of our spark plugs pulled here. Let's see the condition of the cylinders there and go from there. One thing, let's check to see if we have any water on the dipstick, and we don't. Very dark, definitely needs a change. What's nice is I imagine it's pretty low miles. It is showing 44,000, and that's probably original. Not only is this a big dump truck, but it was on a military base, and so I don't think it went very far back and forth before it ended up where it did. Thankfully, all of those plugs came out really easy. As you can see, some old school Champions. These are RNI 4YC. I doubt that number even exists anymore, but they do look good. We don't have tons of moisture or anything, which is a great sign. This one maybe just a little bit right there on that plug, but not bad whatsoever. So this right here is 1, 3, 5, and 7, and then 2, 4, 6, 8. I did have the Marvel Mist roll out because I was concerned of moisture issues with the carburetor being open on this thing. But because it looks pretty good and we only have one spark plug with some slight rust, I am just going to go ahead and load it down with PB Blaster. Now from underneath, with it soaked a little bit, let's go ahead and see if this thing will turn over. And it's crazy, it is actually 1.25 inch bolt on the front of that crank. Oh, not bad at all. Oh, there she is. This thing gonna run, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Just got to get them turning over. like I said, as good as the cylinders look, as long as there wasn't a major issue when this thing got parked, which I don't know, maybe someone just didn't need a dump truck anymore. Like we need one. We should be okay, but before we throw the battery on it, start turning it over with the starter, let's go ahead and pull the drain plug and drain that oil out of there. It is some raunchy smelling oil, very gassy, stinky old gassy, and I feel we need to go ahead and change it before we start spinning it over in that motor. Man, that is way up there, isn't it? Plenty of room under this truck. I know this is gonna make a mess. Not too bad. Woo-wee! No metal or crud or anything, but that is a lot of gas in that oil. That carburetor's probably not happy. Oh, don't you love that design? By the looks of this oil and that 100-year-old Protec filter, I wonder if this thing ever had been changed. Good grief. That stuff definitely needed to come out of there. Went ahead and got our new filter on it, of course, pre-lubed it, and now we can go ahead and get some fresh oil in there, as well as I like to put a little bit of zinc additive. I basically know what's going to be in there, but I want to go ahead and check the gas. The problem is this thing didn't come with any keys. And so, cold roll chisel. That went a little smoother than I thought it would. That's just keeping an honest leaf out. Good grief, which, okay, that's apparently me. Oh boy, that's about how I expected it to be. Good grief.
At least it ain't that bad to drop that tank.
No, it's about as easy as it gets, but wow. You mean replace that tank?
Oh, that's good.
Well, there's not much of a question there. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the fuel line to the motor before we start turning it over, because we don't want to pump any of that anywhere near that carburetor, which is probably pretty bad as it is. Trigger wire down to the starter. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah. She just needed some tappy taps. She just needs some more taps. Sorry. That's just me trying to free up that solenoid a little bit. It might need some hammer love. Turning over, no problem. Now we've got it turning over. Our next step is obviously going to be fire. I don't know anything about Mopar electronic ignition. I can tell though, that ignition box has let out the magic goo. Don't know if that's a bad thing. On Fords, sometimes they let out the magic goo and still work. I'm not sure about if Mopars are the same. You know, that's just the stuff they, I don't know, you know, the electrical stuff they put in there and it just gloops away, I guess. Is that a bad thing? Not sure. More than likely, yes. Let me find a spot to jump this thing out, because I have no idea. I don't think you want to jump it straight to the coil, because you want to include all of this. And then we'll see if we get fire. Okay, let's make this ignition switch work. We were able to actually pop out the ignition tumbler itself by pushing down this little guy. Now, I don't think, you know, you're supposed to turn the key to the accessory position before you can do that, but it's worn out enough. We were able to get that. Once we do that, we can take the cap off, and we are going to actually resize the tumblers to work with this random Chrysler key to make this ignition switch work with it. Or attempt to. I'm not a locksmith, so. So what we've done is made the first tallest one here go in, work no problem, and now we can actually take our calipers and measure size to size and fit the right ones all the way down through here, and then hopefully this will work. Here's where the machinist has his turn. I'm not even going to claim to have any idea what's going on here. He does. Well, I guess he's not a locksmith either, but he can take some measurements on a key.
That's right. 76.
And there we go. All 5 flipped in there good. Now we can clip on the top cap. Now that is pretty exciting. Now I'm not saying you can do this with all ignition switches. This is obviously old school key style, you know, old school house key style almost, you know, with your double-sided ones. It makes it much more difficult. But because this is a dump truck, we were able to make it happen. Now I do feel a lot better about that, because even though ignition system is probably already burnt up, if it's not, hopefully we won't burn it up. Let's go to see if this thing is firing. Well, nada. So it's a Hall effect sensor. It's a little crusty, but not terrible. Yikes. That cap is gross. Good enough. To start with, I'm going to go ahead and check voltage at the coil. This is a low voltage system, so with the key on, we should see somewhere around 4 or 5 volts. Okay, 10.7 sounds pretty good too. Being that we have pretty good voltage here, and we should not actually, we probably have an issue with the ignition module there, and clearly it's cooked. I know mention of checking the ground, but as rusty as this thing is, I bet you couldn't get a ground on it if you wanted.
Oh, look at it.
The heck?
Watch your leg. It's gonna puke on it.
Oh wow.
Holding water.
I wonder what the problem is. Good grief. With the module removed, we might as well go ahead and do the ballast resistor here. It's only $10, and more than likely, with all the moisture going on here, it's probably bad as well. Yummy. So our new one here, pretty reasonable, only about $30. Still has the magic goo inside of it. So hopefully it'll be okay. And of course it doesn't hurt to get some dielectric grease on your electrical connections to help prevent future corrosion. Six. All right, that's better. Oh yeah. Well, there we go. Obviously, that old spark plug's not super happy, but we did have fire. So let's go ahead and throw our new set in. We'll gap those to 35 thousandths, get all our wires back in the right place, and then we probably need to figure out something with this fuel system. With all the plugs back in place, we've got our fuel line connected to the carburetor. I did go ahead and bypass everything. As bad as it is, I'm sure it is no good. And we've got our fuel pump hooked up to our boat tank, of course. Let's go ahead and see if for some reason this carburetor decides to take any gas. It's not overflowing. Oh my goodness, the accelerator's working awesome. Probably too awesome. I mean, that's like, let me get all the spider webs out of here. Spider webs spider webs don't hurt a motor, right? It's good eating. All right, let's see if it'll pop off or anything. Go ahead, Dad. That's crazy. With some fire and some fresh gas, this thing might just be a runner. All right, go ahead. This thing's out of time or something. Or hung up valves, what the heck? With our #1 cylinder all the way up, TDC on the compression stroke, the distributor does line up to where the #1 is set. So that is correct. So it's kind of weird. It's like it wants gas, so once you choke it out, it'll fire up. But as soon as it starts pulling vacuum, it sucks way too much gas down. That carburetor is just not happy. And as you can tell, it's gonna run, but not with the carburetor the way it is. So let's go ahead and pull the carburetor off. Let's take it all apart. Let's see if we can put a rebuild kit in it and get it back on there. Yuck. How the heck did that thing even run? While we are coming apart here, you do want to keep an eye where your little check balls and stuff are. And we also want to remember what our fuel air mixture screws are adjusted to. 1/2, 2. Ooh, soup. Of course, while I was drying everything off, you want to go to take some carb cleaner and spray through all of your little ports to make sure everything is good and clear. So, holy crap. It had something in the intake, it blew it back out of my face.
Really?
Yes, I think it was mud daubers in the intake. It was dirt and all kinds of stuff just blew out at my face. How's oil pressure? Okay, it might not have any. Oh, it's got awesome oil pressure.
Really?
This thing's pumping oil like crazy. Holy cow. I've never had anything like that, and that's what I was afraid of with not having the carburetor. I wonder if the throttle was open or something. It seems like it has a bunch of mud daubers down in it, and so I just had to hold it wide open, and I think the valves were hanging a little bit, which was the only thing is we would have had to pull the intake. It's just a little bit of dirt, but it started, once it popped off, it blew a bunch of dirt all over the place. That was definitely an odd one. I think that and a combination of the carburetor obviously was giving us issues, but once it pushed the dirt toppers through, the motor just ate dirt topper. It sits here and idles now. Good grief. See it all?
Yeah.
All over the place. Look at all dirt daubers. Those are some noisy lifters in this thing. I think they probably just need to load up, but sounds pretty good out of that old cherry bomb. Well, it runs, but does the bed dump? Now the transmission has this really cool custom transmission cooler, and I think that'll work well with the PTO. So let's go ahead and see if the PTO fires up, and then let's see if the bed dumps. You ready? Yes, it is. Getting better.
Onto the frame, that's the base of it.
Dude!
Oh yeah, I can stand that. Oh, that's a big old pump. Or a big old hydraulic. That's awesome.
That's so cool! Even though this thing has been off the road for at least 23 years, it is ready to go back to work. We were able to get it fire off. Definitely took some figuring out. This is new to us, these Mopars, but it runs. It sounds pretty good. Definitely needs quite a bit more run time. I want to do a little bit to that cooling system though, and we definitely want to get an air cleaner back on it and everything before we start driving it, because there is a lot of dust and grime, but it's awesome that it actually fires up and it idles, and that dump bed back there actually works. So we're going to be able to put this thing to work. I would like to go ahead and drive it, but the brakes are completely frozen. The pedal is completely locked down. And this is something that you plow an entire shop down with if you don't stop. So I don't think that's something we're going to try, but I really hope you all enjoyed the rescue of this thing, getting it pulled from where it had sat for so long and getting it running, and are excited for what is to come on this. If you did, be sure to subscribe button, notification bell to keep up with future posts and our other uploads. And if you have been a part of the channel and you are a subscriber, we really do appreciate it so incredibly much. But that is going to wrap it up. Peace out, and catch you all on the flip side.